Welcome back, Shalligators. Well, there's some big news coming out of Buckingham Palace. There's a brand new book out about Harry and Meghan called Finding Freedom. Finding Freedom. I was like, oh, I heard the title of this book. I was like, is this about someone who escaped like a POW camp? Oh, no. No, it's someone far braver than that. Far braver. Meghan Markle. Prince Harry. Exemplars of fortitude and dignity. We've done a lot of videos on Harry and Meghan, and as I have said many times, Meghan is an incredibly beautiful woman, very smart, incredibly calculating and narcissistic, and Harry is in her grip. And it has had catastrophic consequences on his life. He's completely alienated himself from his family, and this book explores this. But kind of. This book is very, very apologist about Harry and Meghan. They weren't interviewed for the book, and it's pretty clear that this was meant to paint them in an extremely positive light. And like the negative aspects are just like tangential, except, some people didn't like Meghan, and every bad thing that's happened in this dynamic, which again, we've covered ad nauseum. There's a whole playlist on it, is very much skewed so that it's everyone else's fault but Meghan. So in a way, they're like, oh, we didn't interview Meghan for this. Well, honey, I think she was kind of pulling the strings behind the scenes. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Well, sort of. We're here to talk about being a sensitive person and how that makes you an easy target for a narcissist. Because I let you guys like weigh in on this topic, and because I was using some excerpts from the book, and I was like, okay, they were talking about how Harry is pretty sensitive. And I'm like, so many of us are. So let's do a video on how to be less sensitive. And I went down a rabbit hole researching this. And it turns out sensitive people are magnets for narcissists. Magnets. And when we get into the psychology of it, you'll see how exactly Harry became the perfect mark for someone like Meghan. And like I've said before, when they first got together, I was rooting for him. Yeah, like diversity. I love it. She's mixing up. She's a divorcee. She's an actress. That dried up real quick. Once her pathology became like so crystal clear, I just can't get on board with these two. I think it's a super toxic relationship, but we'll get into it. But first, want to remind you guys, follow me on Instagram. Again, you guys weighed in on this topic, voted, love it, love to hear from you. Also, be sure to follow me on Infstream. It's our sexy new platform where we can talk about hookup tips. We've got a blowjob tutorial, handjob tutorial, kissing tutorial, and going up later this week is a dirty talk tutorial. You guys also weighed in on the dirty talk phrases. I took a few of them for a test run. Oh, I'll tell you what happened. So head on over there. It's $2 a month. It's uncensored, ad-free. It's amazing. And we can talk all about sex because YouTube won't let us. So let's read this excerpt from this book that really kind of sparked my imagination for this idea, right? I'll do it in my favorite British accent. Per Finding Freedom, Harry was pissed off when William reached out to make sure that his brother wasn't blindsided by lust when he first started seeing Meghan, isn't it? William reportedly told Harry to take as much time as you need to get to know this girl, which didn't sit well with the younger prince. Some felt like it was an overreaction, the book states. Sorry, lapse in American. But then this sums up them as people, doesn't it? William, the calm and rational one, and Harry, who can't help but take things far too personally. I don't really know what that accent did at the end, but hopefully you enjoyed that. So basically, if you couldn't understand me, William is the rational thinker, methodical, and Harry is like ruled by emotion, highly sensitive. And when William said, hey, take your time getting to know her, let's just make sure you're not like, dickmatized. No, guys don't get dickmatized. What do they get? Pussy whipped? Whatever it is. Like riddled with lust and fueled by lust. Harry was like, oh, how dare you? Ah! And he freaked out. And that was kind of the beginning of the end for their relationship as brothers, right? Now, we've all been in the Harry position where we're so excited about something and then someone just throws cold water on it, whether it's a boy, whether it's an opportunity, whether it's an outfit we just bought. I get like this very, very intensely. My therapist calls it charity puppy because I've done a lot of charity stuff and we did fundraisers on here and I do stuff behind the scenes and I get super like myopic about a charity thing, like a person that I want to help, and I'm ready to like get up my checkbook and write any amount. I'm move them into my apartment. I have moved a homeless person into my house before. I didn't tell my mom, just they'd be fucking furious. But like, that's the intensity. And I get like that over a lot of things. I'll like find an album I love, listen to it 60 times in a row. I'll eat the same food for 2 months. Like, I'm a serial obsessor. And that's because I'm a very sensitive person. But my therapist calls it charity puppy. He's like, because you get this like puppy-ish mania, and you have to start associating that manic feeling, that like tunnel vision. I'm going to do all this, and I'm going to spend all my time with this person. I'm going to give that person all my money. And blah, 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 blah. You have to link that with the fallout feeling, because that always comes where someone disappoints you, situations don't work out, you told everyone about it, and now you're embarrassed. Whatever that fallout is, it does come because the way you approached it in the beginning was not metered. It was so over the top. It was baby snake. We've talked about baby snakes before, how they're much deadlier than adult snakes because they don't know how to control the release of their venom. So they're just like, bah! You know, if they bite you. And so much of the time we're like that too. I'm just like, just like venom everywhere. And sometimes that venom is like positivity and love and money and bringing you into my life. And I mean, sometimes it's like venom and I clock you in the face. I haven't done that in a long time. Anyway, so it's important for me to recognize when I get charity puppy. And it can be charity puppy, it can be love puppy, it can be shopping puppy, it could be home buying puppy. When I first got to Montana, there was this one house I wanted, and I looked at it for 15 seconds and I was literally ready to sign on the dotted line. And my mom was like, no, back up. You're looking other places. No. But I was like, I want it. I need it. And she's like, charity puppy. I was like, oh fuck. She's right. And I'm so glad I didn't buy it. The market, not the market, but just that area. Turns out there's going to be construction. And had I bought that house, it would have been such a headache. I would have been locked into it. And I'm like, oh, okay. I took some time, I thought about it, and I made a different choice. So that has been something super helpful for me in terms of dialing down my sensitivity, is realizing when I'm in a charity puppy spiral, right? And I think that's where Harry was. He was charity puppied out with Meghan, and whatever anyone said to him felt like an attack. Why is that? Why is it that when we're excited about something and someone says something contrary to it, we are so offended, like hurt, angry? Like a few weeks ago, one of my best friends said something so harsh about a relationship that I'm having, and I cried buying White Claws in the middle of a Safeway, and I've been bitching about it to our other friends for like weeks, and it hurt me so bad. And I'm like, why did this hurt me so badly? Because there was an element of truth to it. I believe as humans, I believe we know all things at once. Our mind is so much more complex. Our intuition is so smart and so connected that it's like we can look at a situation and truly have the data embedded in our like RAM, our core processor, but it's a matter of accessing it. And when my friend said that about my relationship, I knew on some level she was right. Maybe not 100% right, and certainly the way she delivered the message was not okay and hurtful. But once, and this is something that has come with so much practice, I was able to stop and be like, why do I feel pain puppy? This wasn't charity puppy or happy puppy. This was sad puppy. Why do I feel this mania and this pain in a sad way about what she said? Why does this kick up so much for me? Why can't I get over this? And like, because she might be right. And so much of the time, when we get an insult, when we have criticism or feedback that's kicking up a little bit of a truth, we get really upset about it. My friend just said the other night, she's like, you can't trigger something if there's no trigger there. I'm like, oh, that's true. For example, I know I'm smart. I know I'm cute. I do think I'm fat. So if someone calls me fat, I'm like, someone can call me dumb. People call me dumb on the internet all the time. And I'm like, all right. Like, it doesn't even faze me because I know that's not true. I know that I'm smart. And like, good luck. Like, just diversify your insults. So you can't trigger me on that because there's no emotional wound there. There's no psychological splinter. Dr. Phil calls this an emotional sunburn, a psychological sunburn. A sunburn, you touch someone normally on the arm, they're not burned, you're like, all right, you can hit them pretty hard. That's fine. Someone has a sunburn, The slightest touch is so painful. And when we have a sunburn on a certain part of our mind, our self-esteem, our ego, oh man, the littlest thing. So maybe Harry's psychological sunburn is that no one listens to him. He's silly little brother. The world doesn't take him seriously. Aaron is spare. He's the spare. Oh, is he even Charles' son? Who knows? Whatever. Everyone listens to William. William's always the smart one, the rational one, the next king. Harry's just little brother, kid brother. And so when Harry's like, I do love her. I do. For someone to say, no, you don't, is just sunburn city. Like that could be his total psychological sunburn. I mean, and he's got a lot of things, you know. Also, Meghan came in and like ruled him with an iron fist in a mothering way, right? She kicked up his shadow self. We're going to talk more about shadow selves in a minute here. And so the concept of him losing a secondary mother figure after Diana, obviously another huge psychological sunburn, right? So there was a lot going on that William's well-meaning and ostensibly pretty good advice, like, hey, just take your time, dude, was received as a smack on a sunburn. So what do we learn from this? What are your sunburns? Where are you burned? We don't like to think that we have any. I don't. Sorry. No. I'm sensitive. I'm a really sensitive person. And part of my sensitivity comes from, it's going to sound braggy, my leadership. I have always done things outside of what the rest of the pack is doing. That's why I achieve what I do. That's why I had a book deal at 23. That's why I was editor-in-chief of a magazine in New York City. That's why I had an MTV reality show based around my life. That's why I have this channel. I step out on limbs that a lot of other people don't. And so when I get feedback about how I'm living my life, I'm like, who the fuck are you? Like, what are you doing that is in any way comparable to the risks I'm taking? All you're doing is Monday morning quarterbacking me. You're sitting in the stands, boo, boo. Don't boo me, bitch. Get on the field and suit up. Then we can talk as competitors and equals. See, do you see how sensitive it? Do you see how that was? I was like, that. Wow, I'm sensitive about it. My contour is not blended. But a reason I'm sensitive about it, it's like, look, I am already taking so many chances and risks and stretching and growing as a person a lot that when someone has feedback for me, it's like, I just don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. But I have forced myself as part of becoming an adult and a bad bitch. You have to receive feedback. You just do. Every product, every idea, every endeavor, every adventure needs feedback. We see when people just run amok and they can do whatever they want and they come up with like an idea like, you know, like bad writing or something, you know, like fan fiction. There's a reason editors exist. They take the art and they refine it into something you want to read. But when people can write anything they want, it's like, ugh. Self-published books are not good books. Books published by Random House are usually way better because there's someone giving feedback on that, even though the author doesn't want to hear it. I'm a Random House author. I didn't want to hear it, but I acknowledged, and largely this growth happened through these kinds of processes. It's like, I need feedback to be my best self. So I got to divorce myself from that ego, step back, be like, is this feedback truly trying to make this product, whether it's a book, whether it's one of my relationships, whether it's my body, whatever it is this feedback truly trying to make this product better? Forget about if I want to hear it. Of course I don't want to hear it, but is it going to make it better? Sandpaper smooths something out, right? Is someone giving you a little bit of sandpaper? You might not like it, but the end result is something that's going to be smoother. So I have really tried to practice that objectivity and that stepping back and being like, okay, what am I receiving here? But for some of us, sensitivity goes a lot deeper than that. It's not about ego. It's truly how we're hardwired. Sensitivity, HSPs, highly sensitive people, it's not considered like a disorder. It's considered a very strong personality trait. It is, many theories believe it's closely linked with spindle neurons. Where have we talked about spindle neurons before? Psychopaths. Psychopathy and sociopathy is related to spindle neurons, and which says you are born not made if you're a psychopath. If you have very few spindle neurons, they're related to empathy. You're a psychopath or a sociopath. People with too many are depressives. They're emo. They're highly sensitive people. They absorb energy and they are very easily overstimulated, both like logistically and emotionally. So I know a lot of us have been there, and it can feel like there's something wrong with us. Why are we so sensitive? Why are you so sensitive? People tell us that because they gaslight us. Either they don't have the same amount of spindle neurons, they don't want to deal with what we're dealing with, or we're just kind of annoying to them. Like I said, I'm a sensitive person. I'm a very easily overstimulated person. I'm an only child. I like my alone time. It's how I restore myself. That's why I like being a YouTuber, because I'm alone. Like I do miss like having an office and stuff, but like I have so much more mental bandwidth doing what I do now, and I can budget my energy and I can truly budget my mental capacity the way I budget money. If I have to do a video, if I have to do 2 videos in a day, I don't talk on the phone. I don't go meet anyone for coffee. I don't want to spend that energy. Energy is currency, like money. I have to be judicious about where I spend it, because I know I'll get overstimulated and then I'll be thinking about the conversation at coffee and I'll be thinking about this. I have to keep myself understimulated in order to do what I do, or just in order to live a life that I'm not so sensitive about. You ever been hangry? Oh yeah. To be hangry is a really clear example of how being overstimulated or not getting our needs met can create a highly sensitive, reactive situation, right? We're monsters when we're hungry, monsters. So and we recognize that. It's like, I'm getting hangry. In 30 minutes, I'm going to be an entirely different person. I will murder whoever is coming with me if they're not coming with me with potato chips. And we know that. So try to look at what your other hangry triggers are. For me, I have to stay really, really hydrated. This reminded me. Otherwise, my brain starts to throb. I also can't get tired. I have a bad back. So if I walk too much, my body starts to hurt, and then I get really annoyed. I get sensitive. I get punchy. I get snipey. And sometimes we're not always connected with our body. We don't make that mind-body connection that like, oh, I'm hungry. Oh, I'm thirsty. Oh, I'm tired. And there's a big school of thought in the psychology community about mindfulness helping with sensitivity, to drop into yourself and be like, what's actually going on right now? Am I PMSy? Does my back hurt? Am I hungry? Do my feet hurt? Am I hot? Am I tired? And how is that informing my reaction to this outside stimulus, maybe what people are saying or what we're doing? If my back didn't hurt, if I was in my comfies, if I had a snack, would I have blown the fuck up at my friend for saying she doesn't like Taylor Swift's new album? Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe. But let's try to change the logistics and see if that affects the reaction, right? Mind-body connection. Also, drop into yourself. Say you're completely comfy and you're just sensitive as fuck right now. Drop in and be like, okay, why do I care that they don't like Taylor Swift's new album? What does that mean to me? What is that kicking up? Is that related to some sort of psychological sunburn? Do I need everyone to like that album because I feel kind of silly for still being a Taylor Swift stan when like everyone's kind of growing up and Taylor's 30 and I shouldn't be like super into this? Or do I associate Taylor with my ex-boyfriend and I actually really, really miss him? So when I listen to Taylor's lyrics about you'll come back to me, you'll come back to me, you'll come back to me, I am taking that as gospel that he will come back to me because I've always used her music to get through a breakup before. Maybe things are related to something larger. When we have a disproportionate reaction to something, it can mean it's kicking up something in our ego, right? Don't tell me I can't cut my own bangs. I can do anything I want, right? It's kicking up something from our childhood. It reminds us of a dynamic from our childhood, something like that. Did you guys read the book Sharp Objects or watch the show on Showtime? Gillian Flynn wrote it. She's the same chick who wrote Gone Girl. And there's this one scene. It's about this woman who goes back to her hometown and tries to solve a murder or something. There's this one scene where she goes to this hog farm, like a commercial hog farm, and she watches the baby piglets feeding on the mother. And she describes it as just like the most grotesque thing because these animals are basically like tied down and just like fed on, and it's very disturbing. I was reading that on my lunch break at work. I got so upset I had to leave work. I was hysterical reading that. And I went like straight to my therapist, and I couldn't even breathe. And she's like, she read it and she's like, okay. She's like, why does this remind you of your childhood? I was like, it doesn't. What are you talking about? Like, I could not put this together. And she's like, oh, it absolutely does. There's something about this that has kicked up something so deep and so powerful inside you. It's got to be coming from your childhood. And I'm like, she's like, what feelings do you associate with this? I was like, feeling trapped, feeling suffocated, and feeling like there's no escape. She's like, you felt like that when you were a kid, didn't you? I was like, yes, I did. My mom traveled a lot for work, and I was stuck home with my great-grandmother, who was in her 80s, child of the Depression, you know, not super fun, couldn't really talk a lot to her, and I felt trapped. So when I hear about people being trapped, situations being stuck, that's why I travel so much, so I don't get trapped. And when reading that, it was such a distillation of that feeling. I was like, it took me right back there. So it's interesting what is getting kicked up. Well, let's talk a little bit more about Meghan and Harry. Because remember at the beginning we said sensitive people are magnets for narcissists. Why? What is a narcissist? A narcissist is someone with an endless ego need. They need to be the center of attention. They need to be worshipped and catered to. And they have very, very little empathy. That's what typifies them. There's a big debate about whether narcissists are born or made. You know what? Who cares? Who cares? They're here now, right? It doesn't matter. They're here, you're dealing with them, and we have, almost all of us have dealt with narcissists. They turn things back around on you, they gaslight you, they lie. Why would this be a good fit for a sensitive person? Doesn't this sound awful for a sensitive person? Like it would just wreck them? Well, yes, it does. It absolutely wrecks a sensitive person. It goes back to shadow selves. And we've talked about shadow selves before and talked about how Meghan and Harry, like that is kind of the root of their relationship. She honed in on his shadow self. Our shadow self is the part of ourselves that we are either afraid to or unsuccessful in amplifying and being recognized by the world. I said before, one of my shadow selves is that I'm kind. You know, I come across as very spiky, very sassy, and the way you can identify a shadow self is think about what your best compliments were. And some of my favorite compliments were, Shallon has the biggest heart. Shallon's such a giver. Shallon's so loving. And I'm like, really? Did you think that? You know, and so when someone says that to me, when they say, I'm proud of you, oh boy, here we go. Here we go. I belong to you forever. That is part of my shadow self. Harry's shadow self is that he's a leader. He's an independent. He's a winner. He's the true champion of that family. He's a giver. He gives back to other people. Who cares if he's going to be king? He's saving elephants. He's helping wounded warriors, all this stuff. Meghan comes along, hones in on exactly that thing. And here he goes. Here he goes. And this also kicks back with sensitive and narcissists because, again, shadow selves. They are mirror images of each other. Well, not mirror image. They're opposites, right? The inverse of a sensitive person, an HSP, is a narcissist. An HSP is a giver. They're very empathetic. They take in everyone's moods. They're feeling everything. A narcissist is the exact opposite. Nobody matters but them. The rules don't apply to them. They will step on whoever the fuck they have to get what they want. You don't like it, too bad. That is the opposite of how an HSP feels. And so there's something alluring for the HSP when they see that narcissist. Wow. They just do whatever they want. Wow. They're so unbothered. Wow. That would have made me cry, but they're thriving. They're outgoing. They're so fluid. They get what they want. They speak with authority. Wow. And what does a narcissist see in the HSP? An endless supply of validation, of attention, and of control, right? If you have a modicum of like hero worship from someone, as it seems Harry sort of hero worships Meghan, you got a pretty good chokehold on them, right? If you represent parts of their personality that they can't amplify or don't feel comfortable or don't know how to, they're going to follow you forever. You don't have a relationship, you have a fan dynamic. That's what you have. And their relationship is also wrapped in this parent-child dynamic. There is so much to it, and it all adds up to complete control. Complete control. Getting away from a narcissist is extremely difficult, right? We know this, we've seen it. It's very tough because we feel like they take our identity with them when they go. They take this version of ourselves that we liked, and there it is. We also, if we're an HSP, feel like we can fix them. We can love them back to life. I just need to unlock his potential. She's so wounded. I can make her better. Oh, right? Does that sound familiar? Yeah. And so we get wrapped up. We put our ego into them. We wrap up our identity into them, and that could not be less of a two-way street. Could not be less. They see us as a means to an end. We see them as a project. Then you get into that codependency, right? And again, codependency is supposed to be It's supposed to be two people depend on each other. Nope. With an HSP and a narcissist, it's one person trying to fix the other, while the narcissist keeps them on the hook with the love bombing and the feeding into their idea of their shadow self. Baby, you're the best. You're the real king. Who cares what your brother's doing? He doesn't help the world. You help the world. You're the only one that matters. Let's move to Vancouver. Let's move to Beverly Hills. Let's call the paparazzi. You're the only one that matters. And you're like, what? Yes. Okay. You remember that feeling that they give to your ego if you're an HSP, right? You remember and you lock in to that idea that I am being seen by this person. At the same time, I see them for who they are. It's not who they are. I see their wounds. I see their emotional sunburn, and I can fix it. I'm aloe, baby. No. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're your own person. So how do we insulate ourselves from a narcissist like this? Little things like staying hydrated, resting, building in that decompression time, understanding what your psychological splinters and sunburns are, so that when someone like this comes along and they love bomb you, you're like, I'm actually fully hydrated right now and I'm not falling for your bullshit. Thank you. Sell it somewhere else. Right? It doesn't feel so quenching because we're less thirsty. I mean, literally, when I say hydrate, I mean like literally hydrate. It's very important. Very important. Also, eat. 25% of the calories you take go straight to your brain. So you literally do get dumber when you're hungry. You know, it's not a thing, not fake. So it all comes back to knowing thyself. Know if you're sensitive. And it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's not something you need to work to correct. It's simply something that you need to become aware of and then look and be like, okay, am I reacting to this data, to this stimulus, to this feedback because of something that's going on inside me? Is the person who's saying it, is it coming from their own issues and they're just sort of like, bleh, like spewing it all over me and I'm absorbing it as fact because I like this person or they're kicking up something that might be true. Try to approach all things like this as neutrally as possible. And that can feel difficult when you're in it. Like when I was crying in Safeway buying White Claws, there was nothing neutral about the way I was interpreting that message from my friend. Nothing. But I gave myself a day. I was like, okay, I'm going to be upset about it today. I'm going to tell everybody about it. And then tomorrow I'm going to try and look at it a bit more neutrally. I'm going to try to step back. And truly evaluating your life in a neutral standpoint is like anything else. You got to practice to be good at it. It literally takes practice. So when you get like pissed off in traffic or someone in front of you at Jimmy John's isn't ordering their sandwich fast enough, go in. It's like, why does this make me so crazy? I hate people who are slow. Why? I'm like, well, I don't like people who are slow because they're going to make me late. Why are they going to make me late? Because I left late. Because I was already late. Why was I late? I don't really want to go to this thing. Okay, why are you going? I feel like I have to. Why do you feel like you have to? Take it down. Sometimes there's something really interesting under there. And sometimes it's like, I literally just hate people who drive slow. They make me crazy. They make me feel trapped and suffocated. Oh my God, I just had a revelation. This is crazy. Yeah. Things are usually related. And like I said, our brain has all that data already stored in the RAM. It is just waiting for us, the forward-thinking brain, to make those connections and be like, your brain's gonna be like, we got there, finally, it was all in here. Shallon, thank you. You know? It's like the answer key is already in there. And if we just give ourselves the space and the courage, because that's what it is, to look at what's under there, to look at that sunburn, that's the aloe. That's what takes away the power. That's what rips out that splinter. The awareness of it. You can't change what you don't acknowledge. And acknowledging something seems like it's going to be so painful and so terrible. It's not. It's very satisfying, because then at the very least, you feel like you have some control. Knowledge really is power. It's also armor against people like Meghan Markle, against narcissists, abusers, toxic people, fuckboys, all that shit. When we know where we're coming from and why something pings the way it does and triggers, we now have a defense against that. I want to know what you guys have to say about Meghan and Harry's latest revelations. Did you read the book? I'm not going to read the fucking book. Are you kidding me? Do you think that they're ever going to get back together with Will's family? I don't know. Tell me if you're a sensitive person and if you find yourself actually dating narcissists, or how you deal with being sensitive and how you navigate life, not just being like a turtle without a shell, as we can so feel like so much of the time. And like I said, follow me on Instagram at ShallonXO and head on over to Instagram for a super sexy BJ tutorial. Bye, Shalligators.